want to live our lives aligned to our 4 intentional needs, and protecting our daily routines can be a part of self-care.
Hey there, mamas. Welcome to the Mom Care Coach podcast. And I am your host, Victoria Mattia. I am a certified life and health coach, certified international counselor, and also a homeschooling autism mom and former autism clinic director. I know that you are struggling with holding healthy boundaries around time management, constantly getting less than adequate sleep, and managing deep exhaustion and overwhelm. And you are praying to find a way to have more energy throughout your day. Well, friend, you have come to the right place. In this show, we will talk about how you can guide yourself through a process of self-care strategies that will lead you to the health solutions that you as an autism mom have been searching for, and how providing for your 4 intentional needs, sleep, movement, nutrition, and mindset, can help you avoid burnout. So grab this morning's leftover matcha or pour another cup of your homemade kombucha and pull up a chair, and let's have a chat on how these health solutions can change your life. One more thing. Would you like to know more about the online coaching services and health bundles that I offer? If so, please do not hesitate to reach out. My email is mindfulwellnessforautismmoms@gmail.com. Again, mindfulwellnessforautismmoms@gmail.com. And of course, it's also listed in the show notes. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Now on with our show. Hello, everyone. It is Victoria Mattia, your host, and I am the Mom Care Coach. I hope you are well today. Today, we are on episode 4. And our title is called The 4 Intentional Needs of an Autism Mom. Okay, so now today we are talking about the how. How are we helping or providing self-care for autism moms? It is through the 4 intentional needs. So today is the last episode in our series. Okay, so we first started out, why did I start this podcast for the self-care of autism moms? Okay. And then we talked about the ABCs of self-care for autism moms, right? And that was the what. What is it that we're doing? We're talking about the ABCs of self-care for autism moms. And then now we are on the how. How do we do it? We're doing it through the 4 intentional needs, okay? So I have a story for you. So the other day, I was reading a book called Becoming a Millionaire God's Way, and it was looking at a particular passage, and it's Luke chapter 19, verses 11 through 27. And I will just quickly summarize it for you. Basically, there was a king. He was going on a trip. So he decided to take his kingdom and divide it financially among 3 individuals, okay? And so their job was to invest the money that he gave them, and they were supposed to make that money back and more. So they were supposed to double, triple, quadruple, 50 times, 100 times, just a lot. One person increased it by 10 times, and another person increased it by 5 times. But the third person, he did not increase it at all. Well, the king, when he came back, he became very angry at this individual, and he asked him, why didn't you invest the money like I told you to do? And the individual said, well, you are a difficult person. I know that you will harvest in an area that you have not sown. And so I was afraid. And so I decided to do nothing. It's basically, so I'm giving it a quick and very crude summary of what those verses say. So I do encourage you to read them yourself. But basically, the synopsis is the king got very angry at the third person, which is interesting because the first person increased it by 10 times, I believe, the amount that he gave him. And the next person increased it by 5 times the amount that he gave him, I believe. But the third person, he did not increase at all. And so, of course, that got me thinking. And I was like, this is very interesting. So I wondered to myself, why was he so angry at this individual? And it made me wonder. Of course, the story does not say exactly, it is a parable, but you can kind of gather that the reason why he was angry, in my mind, was because he was given money to invest, okay? And he did absolutely nothing with it, which is interesting, isn't it? And I was just thinking and comparing that to our self-care autism mama journey. And I was thinking to myself, in a way, we are similar. We need to invest in ourselves. We have something to invest. We have our body, we have our mind, we have our physical body, we have our emotions, we have our mental capacity, and we don't want to do nothing with what God has given us. We want to invest in ourselves, invest in our future. And he has given us a mind, he has given us emotions, he has given us a physical body. And it's important for us to invest in our future health by focusing on our topic for today, which is our 4 intentional needs. Because, in my opinion, we cannot expect God to bless something, right, if we are not being obedient with, and I call it the baseline of these pillars, okay? So we can't expect to have a harvest, which would be success, which would be blessed in our future, if we will not do what we need to do now. So an example would be when we choose to eat healthy and have food that is nutrient dense, we are taking care of our future health by giving our body what it needs now, right? So yes, that is very interesting. Now, we don't know necessarily what will happen in the future, but we're setting ourselves up for success by being obedient with our pillars. As we discussed in our last couple of episodes, our pillars are sleep, movement, mindset, and nutrition, right? So it's really important to do what we can with what we have been given. And just like the men that were supposed to invest the king's finances in an appropriate way, we should be good stewards with what we have, correct? Okay, so let's go into our 4 intentional needs, okay? So, and by the way, I do use verses in these episodes from time to time as they are applicable. And I do compare, different things in the verses to our lives. I am a follower of the Most High, so that is something that I do like to share as well. So let's talk about these 4 intentional needs, and also I want to talk about aligned living. So we have not even gone into our one big idea. Okay, so our one big idea has to do with aligned living, meaning living our life in a way that is aligned with our 4 intentional needs. Okay, so let me give an example. So let's say we're wanting to take one of our pillars, which are our four intentional needs, by the way. Those are our pillars. Okay, let's say we are wanting to take sleep, okay? One of our pillars, which is one of our intentional needs. And we're wanting to use it in an aligned way. Okay, so when I am recording this, it is fall. Okay, as I'm recording this episode, it is mid-October. Okay, so when it comes to my sleep, my bedtime routine is changed a little bit. Okay, it is a little bit changed. How is that? Well, because it is fall, where I live, it gets darker earlier, just like it would in winter time. So since it gets darker earlier, I generally, honestly, go to sleep a little bit earlier if it's possible. And I most certainly start to wind down a little bit earlier because we want to, so our body does produce melatonin. It's a whole process of how that happens, how it has to do with our waking hours, the sun, and our bodies, and all of that. So we'll get a little bit more sciencey in another episode. But understand this: our morning routine and our nighttime routine is important. And I personally like to kind of set it by the seasons. Okay, so let's say, as an example, I am wanting to live aligned, right? And I am doing that through my intentional needs, my four intentional needs. So when it comes to sleep, I want to make sure when the sun is going down, I want to start to be able to wind down as well. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily I'm able to go to bed earlier, but I am able to kind of wind down and be really intentional with what I want and what I expect from sleep hygiene, especially in the season of life that I am in, right? So let's get tactical. We want to be able to know what we want. What are we trying to accomplish with our four intentional needs? So this is something that I want you to do for homework, to kind of think about that. How do you want your sleep to look? Now, I'm not going to touch the area of, okay, my child wakes up in the middle of the night, or they wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, like I shared with you in our last episode, because this is about us and there's so much we can do. Okay, so one of the things that we can do for sleep is make sure that we have our last meal 2 to 3 hours earlier than when we are expecting to go to bed, because digestion, we don't want to be happening when we're trying to sleep. It makes it difficult for our body to sleep. That's one thing we can do. And as we mentioned in previous episodes, how we can also minimize that blue light. We can turn off our laptops. We can turn off our cell phones. We can try not to be in the same room when we sleep as our Wi-Fi that also can impact our body. Making sure that our room is as dark as possible, maybe getting some black light or some black curtains, blackout curtains rather, in our room so that the room is completely dark. Making sure the room is completely quiet as possible, of course, right? Making sure that our body is comfortable. Is the temperature good, right? Is the temperature set so that we're not too hot, but we're not freezing cold? All of these little tiny tweaks impact how much sleep we can actually get and how we can stay sleep the longest, how we can do that. It is all related, okay? So that's one intentional need. Why is it intentional? Because you really have to be intentional when it comes to how you're setting that up, correct? All right. Our mindset. Are we protecting our mindset? Are we watching scary movies before it's time to go to bed? That's not a good choice, probably, right? Everybody's different. I understand, but maybe that's not something we want to do around the time of bedtime. So that's another option. What about when it comes to our mindset? What are we thinking about? What are we listening to? All of that impacts our mindset and helping our thoughts to be more positive thoughts, right? Okay, like we talked about in previous episodes, we want to minimize anxious thoughts, negative thoughts. A lot of that is in our control, of course. Not everything is, but we can do our best with what we have been given, right? Being good stewards of what we have been given. Invest in our health for the future. Okay, so what about nutrition? We talked briefly about how you can meal plan, which could be really effective so that we have an idea of what we're eating throughout the week, or at least for the next 3 or 4 days, and we can plan that way. If you choose, you can plan for the whole month, but I don't want it to be something that you are getting overwhelmed by. So as I said before, little bit by bit, we can improve our health. And if we are practicing consistently, that's the main point. Okay, so another piece of our homework for today, I would like for you to take one or two of these pillars and really focus in on them and really decide what choices you can make to improve your health. Only you know your health and what desires you would like to see happening in your household. But if we just start and tweak and work bit by bit, just imagine where you could be in a year from now. Okay, so we already talked about sleep. We've talked about mindset. We've talked about nutrition. Let's now talk about movement. Okay, now in a previous episode, I did mention to think about what kind of activities you like to do for movement, also known as fitness. Okay, so think about what you want to have in the future. For instance, do you have a weight loss goal? Do you have a strength goal, right? Do you have a goal where you just have more energy throughout the day? Do you have a goal of being able to spend more time outside with your kids, running after them, playing with them? Think about what kind of goals you want to set up. This is the fourth quarter, and it's easy to look forward to January for the new year, which is exciting because it's only a couple and months away. I guess it's 2.5 months away at this time that I am recording. But we want to think about where we are right now. How can we improve in this fourth quarter, even before we get to January 1st? We are learning how we can create small shifts that will give us huge payback, okay, for our future. So take a few of these tips and think about how would you like to choose? What do you want to see in your life in these 4 intentional needs? Journal about it. Think about these 4 areas. What would you like to see, right? If we don't change anything, then nothing changes. But if we are able to take intention and look at our life and look even at these small 4 areas, even if you have a few minutes of your day to devote to looking at these areas, then it will start to get the wheels in your mind turning so that you're able to make the changes of success that you really need in your life. Okay, so now I want to ask you a question. Has this episode blessed you? I hope it has, friends. And if you feel like you would love to have more support, please do not be afraid to reach out. My email is mindfulwellnessforautismmoms@gmail.com. And also, I have coaching services and a health bundle that I would love to be able to share with you and give you all the information that you need. So please just message me, reach out to me. You can reach out to me on social as well. Also, as I mentioned in our previous episode, I have a new Facebook group, and it is called the Mom Care Coach. Okay, so I look forward to speaking with you next episode. Be peaceful and be well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so very much for listening in. If you have learned something new today or have been blessed by this show in any way, please share it with a friend. And don't forget to head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. And feel free to take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram, and I will tag you back. Thank you and be well.